Hello, and welcome to this quick video about using the Forefront cohort filtering in the reporting suite. So right now I'm impersonating a building leader, and I'm going to access the reporting suite through the pacing page because that is often very efficient. I clicked at grade 1. It took me to, for all of first grade at Wilma Rudolph, our overall on the screeners. I'm going to go ahead and remove spring and mid-year just because I don't have any data yet. So with the cohort filtering, you're allowed to do some kind of cool, flexible things with the reporting suite. So right here, I'm looking at my imaginary data for my school. If I want to look at the whole district, I can just click that edit cohort and go to all schools. And I'm going to do that right quick. So I'm looking at current data for this year. And let's say I want to filter this. So you'll see right there, I just right clicked and I had the option to clone the cohort to make this a little more efficient. Once I've got that cloned, you can see, same thing. I'm going to go to the three-dot menu and click Edit Cohort. Got another three-dot menu here where I can add a filter. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. When you're doing this, I'm going to be prompted. I've got some different ways that I can filter the cohort. So I'm looking, again, default is all of first grade across my schools for this year. So multiple things we can do here. You can filter by demographics. Don't forget that you can also just access demographics by right-clicking the group and kind of accessing them that way. That's a little more efficient. But also I can do things like question performance. So I'm going to do this one. Right now I'm looking at current first graders, and let's say I want to do some longitudinal tracking, which is where this sort of thing I think gets especially cool. So I want to select a question, and I'm taken to my resource folder, and I actually want to pick a question off a kindergarten universal screener. So I'm going to go back and we're going to just say count to 10. Okay, so I've got first grade this year, fall kindergarten screener. I want to look at the proficiency of the question, and I want students who are beginning on this question. Last thing here, I've got this data term. I'm looking at the group of students from 25, 26, but I want to look at their data from last year because this kindergarten screener was from last year. So now my cohort, my group of students is a little different. So right now I'm seeing, we picked the group of kids based on students who were not meeting, or I think they're approaching, on that beginning counting to 10. Oh, beginning, it says right there, on the count to 10. So we picked the group based on that performance. So 5 students back in kindergarten were beginning on this question. What we can see now is their trajectory as we look at this current data. It's fake data, unfortunately, so it's not interesting. But we could see if this was real data, we would notice that for 4 out of these 5 students who struggled with question 1 in kindergarten, they are still not proficient in first grade as we're looking at this overall. So we're seeing, again, a cool way to start analyzing what questions are really critical. You can play around with what question you filter by. Yeah, so that's one way to do it. The other way, well, there's multiple ways to cohort filter, but the 2 we're going to look at today, again, I'm just going to right click to clone, 3-dot menu, edit the cohort, 3-dot menu again, add the filter. The other one I want to think about is standard performance. And again, you can play around with any of these. But let's go back and thinking about priority standards for kindergarten, and I can get kind of as specific as I want. I'm just going to look at kindergarten counting and cardinality. So really the whole domain. So I'm looking here at that. And then I want the proficiency. I'm just going to say approaching. So one thing to know, and I came across this as I was getting ready to demo, is sometimes with these lower proficiencies, especially looking at standards, if the program doesn't use a lot of need supports, it may show up with no students. And the reason it's showing up that with no students is there's no students with need support, especially if something as high level as a domain, they might be less likely to be able to be found. So now I've got that shifted again. I've got my first graders this year, but how they're grouped is students who are approaching on kindergarten, counting, and cardinality. So this is fake data. I imagine real data would be similar in that we find if students are struggling on this counting and cardinality, they're going to have trouble when we get to the fall screener because things are getting harder. So what's kind of unique to this is you'll remember because we are filtering the cohorts, we're using performance to define the group of kids. So we're not just looking at a group of kids and their performance, we're looking at a group of kids who are filtered by previous performance. So we can start to understand those longitudinal trends in order to better kind of identify students who are going to need support down the road, understand our curricular programs, all kinds of cool nitty-gritty stuff you can get into with that filtering. But that is, in general, how to do it. Three-dot menu, edit cohort, three-dot menu again.